Hi guys, my name is Dr. James Trammell. I'm going to be teaching the meteorology course coming up in the fall of 2020 for Lone Star College. And you see here the book that we'll be using for the course. It's called The Atmosphere: An Introduction to Meteorology, 14th edition. A couple different authors there. We'll also be using a product from Pearson called Modified Mastering Meteorology. And what this will be is you will purchase this with an access code online. You'll see the ISBN in the syllabus. And once you access this through D2L and purchase and have the access code, then the e-text will be included with that. So just a quick update on the book that we're going to be using. Let's go through some of the chapters that you'll see. First chapter is going to be an introduction to the atmosphere, and that will just go over some basic terms and get you familiar with the atmosphere and kind of outline some details dealing with some different things. Kind of a summary of these chapters, but we'll dive into the details once we hit each of the chapters. Chapter 2 is going to be looking at the heating of the Earth's atmosphere and of the Earth's surface. With that, the sun, we'll talk about the Earth's heat budget, how some of it is reflected, some of it is absorbed, some of it is re-radiated back into the atmosphere, and how that Earth and atmosphere heat budget works. On chapter 3, we'll be touching more on temperature, both at the surface and in the upper atmosphere. And when you look at the atmosphere, it's going to be looked at three-dimensional because we have surface things going on. We also have upper air things going on. Chapter 4, we'll look at moisture and atmospheric stability, talking about dew points, how water vapor acts, different forms of water vapor, and also atmospheric stability, which looks at how stable the atmosphere is and what causes the atmosphere to either be stable or unstable, and then what are the effects of those states of the atmosphere. Chapter 5 will look at forms of condensation and precipitation. So that'll be your rainfall, your snow, things like hail, also freezing rain, sleet, how those forms of precipitation can form and why they form. Also things like fog. Chapter 6, we'll look at air pressure and winds. This, of course, has to do with the different pressures that are in the atmosphere. And when you have these certain pressures of the atmosphere, what they produce as far as highs and lows, different storms, fronts, things like that. How winds are formed, the forces that come along with the winds, and how differences in pressure will produce our winds. Chapter 7 will look at the circulation of the atmosphere. This will have to do with how winds move and how things circulate around the globe, and what that means for localized areas as well as the United States as a whole. Chapter 8 will be looking at different air masses, whether they be maritime air masses, polar air masses, continental air masses. We'll look at the different types and the different characteristics of each. Chapter 9 will be looking through the mid-latitude cyclones. These are the cyclones that traverse the United States. They take different tracks, and depending on where you are located when this mid-latitude cyclone passes, affects the kind of weather you may have, which side of it you're on, how close you are to the center, all of those variables, the time and seasons that we're in, all have differing variables as to what kind of weather is seen. And then in chapter 10, we'll look at thunderstorms and tornadoes. Of course, everyone knows with thunderstorms, we usually get lightning. Dangerous can be, and so we have to get indoors and get out of that. Also, with thunderstorms, we can get severe weather, which can cause high wind, as well as the tornadoes, which we'll touch on, and also hail. Chapter 11 will be our hurricane chapter. And here on the Gulf Coast where we live, that's a very important thing. We have to watch this seasonally. When we have a hurricane season that runs from June 1st to November the 30th. So we'll talk about how hurricanes form, how they sustain, and the different impacts that can come from a hurricane. And then finally, in chapter 12, we'll look at the weather analysis and forecasting. We'll look at weather data, and we'll see how forecasters will put this data together. And not only does it give forecasters a real-time picture of what the weather is doing, but it also helps to give them forecasting ability. Also with that, we'll look at some atmospheric models and how forecasters use those as guidance in their daily forecasting. So I hope this introduction was helpful, kind of gives you a brief overview of what we're going to be doing, and hope this interests you as it does me, and look forward to the semester if you choose to enroll. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.